Hi everyone! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a fully functional forum from scratch using HTML, JavaScript, and of course our Skapi library. In this forum, user can post, comment, and even reply to comments. It's a great way to learn about dynamic content, user interaction, and handling data with Skapi. So I'm showing here to you guys is how our forum looks like. So here there's the name of the username, they comment, and if I want to comment something here, I can write them a comment. When I write, it's going to restart the website, and this is the comment that I wrote. And in this one, you can even make comments of comments. So if I write second comment here, and I reply, we get them again. And this is going to be the second comment. You can see that also as well in the other post. So this was the original poster, Vivian, and you can see other comments from other people. Using Skapi, you can actually make something very similar to Reddit or any type of forum. I'm going to show you guys how to use it, but you can use your imagination to create many other fun projects. In this case, you can also make comments of comments of comments and a very big thread. And with Skapi, this is made in such an easy way. So without further ado, let's start. So first, I assume you already have your Skapi account. If not, you can come into skapi.com and create your account. And in my services, you guys are going to create a new service. In this way, I'm just calling it Reddit copy, not because it's a copy itself, but because I was inspired by it. So I'm running trial mode. And this is all you're going to need. You just need to make your Skapi account, create a new service. You can go into trial, you don't need to pay for it. And later on, if you want your data to be saved for a longer time, or if you want to also expand your project, then you can, of course, use our services. So let's go into the code. We are going to need three things. A simple layout with sections for new posts and comments, interactive functionality for comments and replies, and backend data management. So we are using Skapi to store and fetch all posts and comments. And this project is going to combine front-end development and backend integration, which is ideal for building dynamic web applications. But also, don't forget, in order to use our web application, you need to be logged to this service. So in this case, the Reddit copy service. So we are going to need 4 files. First, you are going to need styles.css, which I'm going to be sharing with you guys on the description down below. I won't be going through the CSS. This is not the focus for today's video. You're going to need a sign up and a login page, which I'm going to also leave in the description, since we already have a tutorial teaching you guys how to do this in less than 4 minutes. And we are going to need an index.html file. In case you want to know how to set up the sign up and the login very fast, I'm just going to say that you can come here into users, more info, and this is the code for you to create your sign up and your login in the easiest way possible using Skapi. In this case, I just added in the sign up part, I added a new label called name. So this is going to be the nickname that shows when you post a comment. So don't forget to add this new label, so you can put also the name or nickname, something that could demonstrate who is commenting. In this case, you cannot use email, since email in Skapi is always private. In order to make it public, you need to make the user agree that it's going to be public. So maybe you could put like a checkbox if they want to make it public, but I just thought it was easy to create a new label called name. If you want to know more about it, you can just come into docs.skapi.com and you can just read our documentation, how our data is going to be saved here in the data types and how you're going to receive everything. So yeah, everything is very well explained in our documentation. Okay, so let's start with the HTML layout. In this case, I'm going to follow a similar thing that I did on last tutorial. I am not going to be coding with you guys at the same time. Here, I'm going to show you guys all the code and I'm going to explain line by line how it works. I find this way to be a bit more interactive, and you guys can also see the final code already, how it looks, how short it is, and you can just, if you are confused about some line, I'm going to explain to you guys it line by line. So starting with the HTML. In the HTML, we are going to start with a h1 tag, just reading forum, and then I put here a link to login in case the user is not logged. And we are going to create a new div. This div ID is going to be new post, and inside we are going to create a form. In this form is going to be the part where the user is going to write the comment. So we are going to give the form an ID of post form, and on submit, when they submit this form, we are going to create a function called create post, in which we receive the event, and we are also going to, and after we pass this on this function, we are going to do this other thing where we are going to get the post button. This is the button, and we are going to hide it. So what this is doing is, when you write a post here and you click post, the button is hidden. I did it like this in case you click post twice and then you submit the same comment twice, and we don't want it to happen. So this is the easiest way to do it. When the user clicks to send the form, I'm going to hide the button. Here we are going to have an input called name, with the name is going to be post, and the placeholder is going to be write your post here, and it's going to be required. So in order to submit this form, you need to write something here. You need to write some comment. And lastly, just an input type submit, and which the ID we got post button, that is the one that we are referencing before, and the value is post. This is this button that shows here. And that's it for the form to send the comment. After that, we are going to just create a div called main, and here's where we are going to put all the posts one by one, all the comments one by one. We are going to use Skapi to handle all the data. So we are going to use it to fetch, create, and display the posts and the comments. So in this case, the first thing we are going to do, we are just going to assign these two variables, post div and comment div, that we are going to use later. So I'll tell you guys about it a bit later. So the first thing we are going to do is that when the user enters this website, we are going to display all the posts made by other users. So we are using the Skapi function called get records, in which we just need to define the table. So the table is named posts, and then when we get it, we are going to receive a response. If we console log this response, what we are going to see is, we are going to see an object which has a list, and these are all the comments. So what we want to do here is that we are going to create in the future another function called display posts, and inside the display posts we want to just pass the list with all the comments. So that's why it's passing response.list. If I delete this console save. Okay, so every time the user enters, it's going to display all the posts using this get record method. But how are we going to display posts if nobody ever created a post? So first thing we need to do is to create the function where the user can create the post. So we are going to create a new function called create post, in which we are going to receive an event, and this function is going to happen when the user submits the form with the comment. In this function, all we are going to do is that we are going to event.preventDefault. So every time they submit the form, we don't want the page to refresh. And why we are doing this like this is because we want to give it some time so the data can be saved on the table, and after we can fetch it. So we are going to prevent the default of the page of refreshing, and we are going to use the Skapi method called postRecord. That's the method we use when we want to save something into our database. Skapi special feature is its database. It's so easy to manage, and you don't need to define any schema before. In case there is no other table called posts, it's going to create it for you, and you can just save it very easily, all the data you want. So in this case, we are going to post in the table called posts, and if this table doesn't exist, Skapi is going to create it for us. And then when we post this record, we are going to receive a response, and we are going to just console log this response, and we are going to window.location.reload. So every time the user posts something, it's not going to update on our website right away. So what I want to do is that I want to refresh the page so the user can always see the latest posts made by them. Okay, so until now, very easy. When we write a post, we can post. We are going to console log it here, but since the page refreshes right away, cannot check it. But we have the post here. It's called Hey. However, we learned how to display the posts that are made that are in our database, and we learned how to post them. But how are we displaying them here? And this is the biggest part of or today's tutorial, because we are going to create a function called display posts. Every time we have a new post, we are going to throw it in this function, and we are going to display it. So we are going to create it in an async form, because we always want to show the last posted posts. Because JavaScript is asynchronous, sometimes, let's say that we have this post and it's just called hey, but we have also another post where there's a comment and there's a comment of a comment. So sometimes this first post is going to be fetched faster than the one that has many information. So what happens is sometimes they are not in the correct order, and we always want them to be displayed in the order they are uploaded. So we are going to create this async function called display posts, in which we are going to pass the list of posts. We are doing it right here in display posts. We are passing the list with all the posts that we have. Then we are going to get the main div that we defined already in the HTML, and after we are putting main div dot inner HTML equals to empty, so we can clear the previous post. And then we are going to make a for loop. So for every single post, we want to run all this function. For post in list of posts, what we are going to do is we are going to get the user response. So the first thing we want to do when we get a post, so here I show you guys in the data. Let me console log it again. When we are going to display all the posts, remember we have the data here. Let me make it a bit bigger. We have a list. Inside the list, we have a post. Inside the data, we have the post itself, what it's saying. And we have the record ID, we have the user ID. So we can know, we also have the table. So we can know who posted it. Because imagine we have a forum, but every post there is no username. So how we are going to know who say what? So in this case, when we get a post, the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to get the name of who posted that. So in this case, we are going to let user response, and we are going to use a wait, because we need to wait this method to run to only after perform the other things. So we are going to use a new Skapi method called getUsers. In this case, we are going to search for the user ID, and the value is going to be post.userid. So remember here, inside the list, each number of this is a post. So inside of here, we also have the user ID. So we are going to use post.userid, and we are going to get the value of the user ID, right? And when we use search for user ID, this Skapi function is going to get me the user that has exactly that same user ID. And when we get that, we can get the username. So the username is going to be the user response dot list. We are going to get the first one dot name. So in this case, there's going to be just one user, because sometimes it can be multiple users with a name. That's why it's better to use nickname, because you can limit them to not be the same. But in this case, I'm using name since it's a small application. Not a lot of people has the same name. So actually nobody has the same name. So I can just use name, and I'm going to use the first one in the list and dot name. So when I get the user response, I'm going to use this as a let username, and the user response dot list, the first value dot name. How do I know how I receive my data and which part I should get? In this case, you could console log the user response and check, but it's also a good practice. You can come here into our documentation. You can go into data types. You can go into user account, and you can see here when we use get users, we are going to have a lot of parameters, and the search for, we can search for many things. In this case, I use user ID. And when we see database response, we get user profile. And in type user profile, you see everything we receive. We receive the service, the owner, the access group, the user ID, and we also receive the name. So that's why I knew that it was inside lists. In this case, because it's a small application, I'm using name, but it's maybe better to use nickname, since nicknames are all different and names many users can have the same name. But in this case, since it's a small application, I'm just showing you guys how to use it. I'm using name, so I'm getting the first value and just getting the name. So I know who posted that. And I'm going to make a new div, create element div, in which I'm going to put it a class name. I'm giving the class name of postdiv, and inside that we are going to put postdiv.inner HTML, and I'm going to define all the HTML here, how we are going to display the post. In this case, inside here, inside this backtext, I can just put HTML code and it's going to display in our front end. So in this case, the first thing I'm going to put is a paragraph which has the username, and in case you want to show a variable, you just use $ and curly brackets and you put the variable inside and it's going to work. If you just put username, it's going to just display the name username and not the username that you got from our fetching. I'm also going to put post.data.post. This one is the one here. Inside list, inside the post, inside the data, you have the post and what they wrote. So remember, it's always very important to keep checking how is the response that you're getting, so you know where is everything that you want to display on your website. I'm going to create a new div, which class should be comments. And inside this new div, I'm creating a form, this very big form here, in which I'm going to allow people to comment on my post. In this case, I'm going to create also an on submit, in which first I want to prevent the default, and after I'm going to run this Skapi method that we ran before to post record. So the first one that we ran into this function here was to create the main post, but this second one is when somebody wants to comment on a post. So we use post record, we pass the event. So using Skapi, in case you're going to just pass the event, you don't need to separate the data because the Skapi is doing it all for you. And we're just going to define the table. The table is going to be comments, and we are going to use the reference. What is referencing? In this case, we need the comment to be attached to a post. We cannot have a comment to be just saved in our database and not be connected to a post, because a comment is always a comment from a post. So in this case, we use referencing. So in Skapi, to put the reference, you need to put the original post, the record ID, and reference on your comment. So now we know which post the comment is attached to. So we use reference, and we just specify the record ID that is inside post.recordID. And then we are going to get a response. When we get it, we are just logging it. We are reloading the page so you can see the latest update. And that's it. After that, I'm just going to put the input of name, which is going to be comment, the placeholder comment here, make it required. So in order to submit this form, of course, you need to write something as a comment, and also input type submit, which value is comment. So using Skapi, you don't need to separate the data, you just need to give it a name, and it's going to save on your database. If you pass the event, it's going to save in the data with the key comment and the value, the one you posted. And we close the div, and after we just attach the div that we created, the post div, to the main div. Okay, I hope you guys are following to here. And after, we are going to create the same for comments and the same for comments of comments. So we are going to repeat a very similar logic. So what's happening here is the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to first get the post. After that, we get any comments for this post. And after that, we get any comments of comments, which I mean is this first one is a post. This is a comment of a post. And you can also make a comment of a comment. So you can make a post, a comment, and a comment of a comment. So that's what we are going to do in the code here. So the logic is very similar. We are going to get all the comments response. We use await in this case because we want to wait this to happen to follow the rest of the logic. So we use get records as before. The table is comments, because remember here when we posted, we post on a table called comments, and we get the reference, which is post.recordID. So we get exactly this comment. Using reference, we know which post was this comment referencing to. So that's how you can do that in Skapi. You just need to define the reference, and you're going to get all the comments that are referencing that specific post. So I'm just going to define it as a constant comments. So comments response dot list, because remember, if there are many comments, it's going to give us a list, and we want to display the list. So we are going to create another for loop in which we are going to let comment of comments. We open it, and we are going to do the same logic. So in this case, we need to get the name of whoever's made this comment. So we let comment user response, we await for it, we run Skapi get users, we search for the user ID in this case, and the value is going to be comment.userID. Since we have the comment, we are also going to have the same information that we had before, but with the posts. So we just use the user ID, we get the comment username, we the same going to get the first element of the list dot name, and we are going to create a new div in which we are going to put all this comment and the way to display it. We give it a class name as well of comment div. We put comment div dot inner HTML, and here we just code our HTML and we display it later, we append it later. So very similar as before, we create a paragraph with the comment username, we create another paragraph with the data. So in this case, it's going to be comment.data.comment, because it's the way that we are retrieving the data. And we are creating a new form similar to the one we created before. We are putting it on the same table of comments, but in this case, the record ID is going to be comment.recordID. So we are not, if there is a comment of a comment, we are not referencing to the main post. We are referencing to this comment here. So using reference in Skapi, this CC is referencing hey, and comment of comment is referencing CC. So that's how they are related, and we use referencing for that. So inside this form, when on submit, we prevent the default of the event, and we post a record using the event, the same thing we did before. Then we got a response, we console log it, and we reload the window. That's it. Inside the form, let's not forget to put the inputs. So one is name comment, the placeholder reply here, and input type submit, in which the value is going to be reply. So this first one is comment here, and here one is reply here, because you're replying to a comment. We close the div, and don't forget the backend here, because this is how it defines that this is the HTML that we are writing and not JavaScript. And we are going to append this comment div to the post div. So we append this comment div here to the post div that is appended to the main div. So it's kind of a tree with many things being connected. And the last thing we are going to do is, using Skapi, you can actually make a comment of a comment of a comment of a comment, and using referencing and doing it forever. However, in today's applications, such as Instagram, you cannot do that. So it's more normal to have only one comment and many replies to that comment. You cannot make a comment out of a comment of a comment. What you can do is usually tag the user that you want to reply to, instead of writing many comments, because it starts to get a bit out of hand. So that's what we are doing here as well. But if you want to create an application that has comment of a comment of a comment, it's totally up to you, and totally possible to do it using Skapi. So to the last one, which is this div right here, it's going to be way more simple, because there is no form to send a reply. So you just need to display the comment of a comment. In this case, we do it very similarly. We create a variable called let replies response. We await to get the record, to get referencing the comment itself. See that here, we are referencing the post, but in this case, it's referencing the comment. We get the record ID. We are going to put the replies. The constant is going to be replies.list. In case there are many replies to a comment, we are going to receive a list, and we want to pass this list here inside our for loop. So for let reply of replies, to each reply we want to perform these actions. So first thing we are going to do as before, we are going to await the Skapi method called getUsers, in which we search for the user ID so we can know who posted this reply, and the value should be reply.userid. So we can receive all this information about this user in specific. we get the reply username, which is going to be reply user response dot list. It's going to be the first one, and we get the name. And we are going to create a new div. This new div is going to be called reply div. We give it a class name as well. We define this inner HTML, and inside, using backticks, we are going to create a HTML element. So we create just a new div. We give it a class of comments, and we are going to post the reply username and then the data. So reply.data.comment. Why .data.comment? Because everything we save, all the data is inside the data, of course, but in this case, comment is right here. You see that inside this form, we are going to pass the event, and in the event, we are going to define it with name. If you define your inputs with name, then Skapi already sorted out everything for you and post it like this into our database. And lastly, after closing the div, we are just going to append the reply div to comment div, and that's it. There are many ways to do it, and there are many projects you can create with referencing in Skapi. You can come here and you can go into your database. You can see we have 2 tables, posts and comments, and you can see the reference ID as well. So this is the post that they are referencing. So let's say this is a comment. If we copy the reference and if we search here, we can see that it's referencing this other comment. So you know it's a reply, it's a comment of a comment. But this comment here is referencing this one. So if we copy and we search for it, it's referencing a post. So by using referencing, you can create many different types of applications, forums, applications like Reddit. Your imagination is the limit. And if you have any doubt, you can always come here into our documentation. There's everything about referencing and using your database, since the database is what we are focusing the most, to make it the easiest and most accessible for everybody out there who wants to code their own projects and having fun coding in an easier way. You can always use Skapi. And there you have it, a functional forum with HTML, JavaScript, and Skapi, enabling users to post, comment, and reply. It's an interactive project to get you started with dynamic web applications. It's great if you work a bit more on it to put on your CV in case you want to enter the tech industry. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, leave a comment below, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.